All right. Another story time. Who's ready for the story? I told you. I told you. I've got a ton of them, so I am unpacking them as we go. We're going to be doing more and more of this because I believe we all learn from them. Okay. I'm losing myself in this marriage. Okay. So, this is also the story that's going to help us anchor the the stuff I wanted to share with you around the four horsemen of divorce, how to predict and prevent a marriage apocalypse. We're going to talk about that. And to be say big English. I said, ha. And so we have to do big English to get to some of the root of this issue. So, how many people have seen the pop the balloon with the older people? Speaking of big English, even myself are confused, right? But English, I think one of the major issues when it comes to language with Nigeria is enlightening people in local dialects and languages. I think that's going to be a big part of the future of Nigeria. Because when you're asking certain people to start to speak English, it creates certain ambiguity. Another big English. Jesus help me. It creates certain ambiguity that is not really helping. So one problem I've discovered over the years as I've been having these conversations and helping people is that I've actually needed the patience more. Because sometimes when people say some things, it might sound problematic, triggering, but actually is their way of structuring sentences that is creating the disconnect. You know, so so we have to be super patient. That's one. Super patient when you're discussing with people. So I know that I'm far removed from the way that an average person in Nigeria, average to 200 million people, average how they structure their English sentences. Um, and by the way, many of them that have moved to the abroad as well, how they structure and how I'm receiving what they're saying. So I have to really calm down and make sure that I take the time to understand where they're coming from before I offer any kind of counsel. It's very, very important. Okay. Now, obviously, it's very helpful because I know the culture, but even beyond that, you know. So I think being able to have this kind of topics in our local dialects, you can speak it in Benin, in Isoko, Yorubo, Usobo, Igbo, Hausa, being able to say all of this stuff, this is one of my future dreams, being able to teach people, coach people so they can also put out some of this kind of content in those languages. I think so many lives will be saved, because even sometimes when you use big English, right, and you use it to try to teach people emotional intelligence, they're like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? Like, it just sounds like completely foreign to them, and but even in Yoruba language, there are so many proverbs, right, that speaks directly to emotional intelligence, you know so it takes a lot of effort, open-mindedness to get to that space where we can have that conversation. But language barrier is a big deal. It's also creating lots of problem for a lot of people. So if you guys saw they pop the balloons with the older people, that's a Chidima says possible problem. Before we get into the story, we'll get to the story now. I have a story coming up. I'm losing myself in this marriage. I got you on that. Possible problems with paying people to get married. Society incentivizes a sacred institution, and people will marry for the wrong reasons. Yes, these are problems that we also need to talk about and make sure we mitigate the risk before we can just say that's the absolute solution. Every solutions create new problems, and that's going to be part of the conversation. We need much more than paying people to get married. D says, how about investing in tools relating to sustaining the marriage ministry? Exactly. These are some of the things I'm talking about, right? How about a marriage school before people go and say I do? I'm not talking about 2 weeks marital counseling. I'm not talking about random willing to go back and forth couples therapy that you're not really paying attention. where they will tell you like, oh, bring dildo. Let's practice this. Let's jump into the eggs of what about actual real things, scenario-based conversations that people can have before they actually jump into this thing called marriage. Marriage is not anybody's mate. If you pay me, then I'm literally your employee. If I develop myself professionally, I'll resign from the marriage and join another. Wala, wala, wala. Anyway, they pay them to get married, but they also pay them to stay married? Another angle. Well, they pay them to have 3 children in South Korea. If you have 3 children, you don't have to pay the loan back, right? And I understand what they mean by the big English. You now get it. You now get it. All right, so let's get into it. I have a story here. I'm going to read it to you right now. And then I want us to really talk and see if you guys can advise this person. Okay. Dear Man of Prestige. Dear Man of Prestige, I've never thought I'd be writing this, but I am at my wit's end and don't know where else to turn. I've been married. No, this is the wrong one. I think that's the one from tomorrow. Okay, this is the right one. I was looking at the subject line, it's different. Lord help me. This subject one is I'm losing my marriage in this. I'm losing myself in this marriage. Okay, dear Man of Prestige, I really need someone to listen to me. My name is Kunle. We changed names, okay? And I moved to Canada from Nigeria 10 years ago after my wife Miriam helped me get a spousal visa. He's imported. At first, I thought this was the start of a beautiful life together, but now I don't know who I am anymore. I feel like a shadow of myself. When I first arrived, things seemed okay, but soon after, Miriam started complaining about everything I did. I didn't clean up the way she liked. She'd say, "You never do anything right." If I tried to help in the kitchen, it was, "Why can't you just stay out of my way?" At first, I thought she was just stressed from work or maybe tired, but the comments never stopped. They became sharper. Now, even the simplest things I do seem to annoy her. It got worse when she started mocking me in front of her friends. She would roll her eyes and say things like, "You know, Kunle, he doesn't understand how things work in Canada." Or she'd make jokes about how I talked or dressed, and everyone would laugh. But it wasn't funny to me. It felt like she was telling me without saying it outright that I'm not good enough. I tried to talk to her about how it hurt me, but she always brushes it off. "You're being too sensitive. It's just a joke." When I tried to defend myself and explain my side, she cuts me off, saying, "You always want to play the victim. It's like nothing I say matters." She blames me for everything that goes wrong. If we have money problems, it's because I'm not contributing enough, even though I'm working 2 jobs to keep us afloat. If she's in a bad mood, it's because I did something to upset her. I'm always on edge, trying to avoid her anger, but nothing seems to work. Now, she just ignores me most of the time. If I try to have a conversation, she walks away or just stares at her phone like I'm not even there. Days can go by without us speaking a single word to each other. I've tried to ask her what's wrong, to fix things, but she gives me the cold shoulder. It's like talking to a wall. I can't even remember the last time we had a real conversation. I feel trapped and alone in this marriage. I don't have family here, and she's always telling me how lucky I am that she brought me to Canada. She makes it sound like I owe her my life, and that makes it even harder to say anything. I'm scared to open up to anyone because I don't want to be seen as ungrateful or weak. Ouch. I'm just tired, man. I'm tired of feeling like I'm invisible in my own home. I'm tired of feeling like I'm always on the wrong side of everything. I don't know how much more of this I can take. Thank you for reading. I just needed to get this off my chest. Sincerely, only. All right. Now, I did initiate a conversation with him, and we're starting a new conversation, and I think it's going to be on the same path. But I wanted to bring this to us. Let's talk. What y'all think? Any advice? Any advice for Mr. Kunle? Shout out to Mr. Kunle. That's not his real name. Okay. Shout out to Mr. Kunle. Welcome, Tonya. Tonya, Good morning to you. Whatever that is, I think it's morning or something on your end. Chia, what's not nice? What happened? What happened? Did you guys hear? I want to hear that. I'm waiting now for your advices. Oh, Toby and Tribe. Let's talk. Let's talk. Well, how would you advise Mr. Kunle? Men too, they suffer. Oh, hey, men are suffering. Oh. I know you never expected it, but men are suffering inside of marriage. But it doesn't matter because we don't do gender war here. It's just case by case by case by case. So let me hear it. Let me get you guys grab the full gist, or you want me to read it again? You guys grab the full gist, or you want me to read it again? Let's. Specialty wow, pressure.
Everything I do, I will. Pressure to what?
There's pressure. There is pressure. Imported man. What would you, if this was your brother, if this was your dad, maybe you're a stepdaughter still in Nigeria or something. If this is somebody you know personally, what would you say to them, right? To help them. He's tired. Well, he's tired, but it's not just easy for him to leave. Also, he doesn't have anybody in Canada, so it's maybe this is what Uncle Beno was talking about, the loneliness. He was talking about the loneliness, right? He's probably also lonely too, right? Let me see. Some of my gender get am for body, no be lie at all. Wala. Advice, call Uncle Beno's lawyer. Wala. Oh, Uncle Beno, where are thou? I was referring to when he said she would make fun of him to their friends. Oh, that part. That's what you mean by that's not nice. Yeah, a lot of people don't pay attention to that. You recall she said you're too being sensitive, right? It's just a joke. What could be a joke to you might not be exactly a joke to other people. Yes, some of them are people you're having sex with in the same household, and you expect them to get your joke, but they are feeling some type of way with your jokes. Mr. Kule, sorry, you are going through such. It's always a problem if a troublesome person brings you abroad. Voila. Are you saying there's a type of people that bring people abroad and they will never drag you through this? Yeah, I believe that too, especially if they've been coming through prestige family. Of course. You can import people abroad and you can be emotionally intelligent to not be this offensive. It's possible. But the natural human being, most people normally, they don't really realize they're hurting or offending another person. And oftentimes they have coconut head to self-correct if you correct them. So remember what we talked about correction earlier on Antibe's platform today? On a serious note though, what does he want? Are there children involved? Does he have complete pali? All this will determine. He has spousal visa, that's all we know. All this will determine the best course of action for him. Yeah, there was no complaint about him not being able to work. This is purely, sounds like it's purely emotional. Sorry, what and who is paying for marriage? Please recap if you don't mind. We're in a new segment. I might have to reread this story. We're in this story segment now. I was brought abroad and I was reminded every time till I don't give a damn again. This is a very common behavior that is causing a lot of people problems. There was one point my wife would tell me, Onsi Regun is like, it's like I did something for her, but I'm bringing it up. It's a very complicated thing. So I did something for her abroad. I didn't bring my wife abroad. We met here, but I'm just saying other things that maybe I've done for her, right? So when we're in the middle of argument, right? Maybe she's insinuating that I'm not enough, right? So I will point those things out, but then it becomes you are pointing out the things you do for me, and then it makes me feel like, wait, but you are saying I don't do enough for you. So it's not as simple as one person just dragging a person for doing something for them. A lot of these issues are two-way streets. That's why I keep always asking people to pay attention to their own side. Self-reflection, self-awareness is key in all of this. There are some people that are extreme. There's some people that they are extreme at reading meanings to everything. See, it gets very complicated. This I should read it again. Let me read it again. Where are we here? All right. So here we go. Subject line. I'm losing myself in this marriage. Dear man of prestige, I really need someone to listen to me. My name is Kunle, and I moved to Canada from Nigeria 10 years ago. It's been 10 years. So he has Pali, 10 years ago, after my wife Miriam helped me get a spousal visa. At first, I thought it was the start of a beautiful life together, but now I don't know who I am anymore. Okay, 10 years fly by the way, fly by real quick. I feel like a shadow of myself. When I first arrived, things seemed okay, but soon after, Miriam started complaining about everything I did. If I didn't clean up the way she liked, she'll say, you never do anything right. If I tried to help in the kitchen, it was, why can't you just stay out of my way? At first, I thought she was just stressed from work and maybe tired, but the comments never stopped. They became sharper. Now, even the simplest things I do seem to annoy her. It got worse when she started mocking me in front of our friends. She would roll her eyes and say things like, Kunle, he doesn't understand how things work in Canada. There are people that brought people 15 years ago. They're still saying, you don't know how Canada works, or America, or UK, whatever one. Or she'd make jokes about how I talk or dressed, and everyone would laugh. But it wasn't funny to me. It felt like she was telling me, without saying it outright, that I'm not good enough. I tried to talk to her about how it hurt me, but she never brushes it off. You're being too sensitive. It's just a joke. Close quotes. When I tried to defend myself or explain my side, she cuts me off, saying, you always want to play the victim. You see all those comments. All those comments are hurtful comments. Anyway, it's like nothing I say matters. She blames me for everything that goes wrong. If you have money problems, it's because I'm not contributing enough. Even though I'm working 2 jobs to keep us afloat. If she's in a bad mood, it's because he's working 2 jobs to keep us afloat. He can work, right? But if she's in a bad mood, is because I did something to upset her. I'm always on edge, trying to avoid her anger, but nothing seems to work. Now, she just ignores me most of the time. If I try to have a conversation, she walks away and just stares at her phone like I'm not even there. Okay, so she's dismissive, right? Days can go by without us speaking a single word to each other. I've tried to ask her what's wrong to fix things, but she gives me the cold shoulder. It's like talking to a wall. I can't even remember the last time we had a real conversation. I feel trapped and alone in this marriage. I don't have family here, and she's always telling me how lucky I am that she brought me to Canada. She makes it sound like I owe her my life, and that makes it even harder to say anything. I'm scared to open up to anyone because I don't want to be seen as ungrateful or weak. Right? So he's starting to feel guilt because it's been 10 years, but also he's trying to hold himself to that, like she brought you abroad. I'm just tired, man. I'm tired of feeling like I'm invisible in my own home. I'm tired of feeling like I'm always on the wrong side of everything. I don't know how much more of this I can take. Thank you for reading. I just need to get this off my chest. Sincerely, Kunle. So, did we learn anything new? That was the previous story, maybe. Yeah, that was the previous segment. Yeah. Why is bringing someone abroad should be a problem? You brought me so we can build family. Can we focus on that? I know it shouldn't be a problem, but there are underlying issues. That actually is never the problem. Though they are saying it's never the problem. It's just one of those easiest things to point fingers at when you don't know what you're doing. So they start to talk about how you don't appreciate me, right? Or they might bring it up if you keep saying things that make them feel like they've never done anything for you. Or it is just their personality. There's some personality, they like to brag about everything they've done. Okay. I'm not going to generalize. There are certain group of people, right, that everybody have generalized and say, they will tell you what I've done. I'm not going to say it's on those people. It might be how many degrees they have. Like, where I'm from, we are educated people. You never know. We are very educated people. And then your wife is sitting down there. She only has GSS. And then you're asking like, but maybe it's me that married you. Why are you When I was saying that where I'm from, we get degrees, I wasn't talking to you. You might have been saying it for years, but not just that one thing. Many, many other things, right? That kind of like following the same, because you know it's your personality. So you apply the same personality in every other aspect, and you have no idea how much resentment that person has been building inside. That's what we're talking about. So for your story and this person's story, it happened to be an imported situation. It could be anything. It could be more education, more money. It could be how you were trained. Is that how you were trained in your household? Remember when you were telling us the story of how somebody sent you back to home, to your mother? Yeah, these are the kind of conversations, right? So instead of dealing with the personality and understanding, we deal with the actual offense, and we never get anywhere because, you know, I've read it too. If you bring someone abroad to marry them, Chinye says, it's because they saw a value in you and wanted to marry you. Point blank, period. If they are bringing it up, right? Let me finish Chinye's comment. They happened to not live in Nigeria, so they are bringing their spouse to be. Right. There's some kind of value they found in you, right? But if they are bringing it up, these other issues is just the easiest thing to point finger at when they feel like you're not appreciative, right? Why they feel you're not appreciative in this moment, right, is something that they should be talking about, not the importing you from like 10 years ago. But believe it or not, people are still doing this. Some people will hold that around your neck for the lifetime. I'm the one that brought, this person came through me to America. They stay with me. One of my best friends, he's always talking about, actually, I think he watches the show too. He's always talking about, every time he says that, because I accommodated when he came, like, it's always awkward. It's always not comfortable because I'm like, everybody did something for all of us, right? But some people is the opposite. They're always bringing up what they did for you. And a lot of times it's personality, and, if it's not too deep, you see it as what it is and leave it alone. Because they probably have done that in many other aspects. You haven't paid attention. But now it hurts because it's this one pain point for you. So should you just ignore it? No. We'll talk about what to do with that in a second. With them and build. So rubbing it in their faces so they want a clap or piece of candy. Yep. The way she's treating him, I think that woman might be fed up of him. Toby and Tribe. Really? Maybe it's possible. It's possible. But some people have bad manners and behavior. Don't get it twisted. Some people have bad manners and behavior. So let's see here. Adebusola says, how old is he? This gentleman is around 36, 37 years old. If she's open to fixing it, they can do counseling together. No, she's probably not open to fixing it. She's probably just very comfortable in her funk. She's probably saying, I beg, I don't have time. Yeah. That's usually what it looks like. Remember, he said that anytime I try to have, what is it? I'll come back to it. I'm still going to analyze it, line by line. She is at this point, counseling will be the way to go, even if it's starting first and including her. Yeah, because if you don't know what you're doing, you ask. If you're confused, it's time to learn something new, right? It's like anything else in life. Actions are a symptom of something deeper, all right? Oh, Bernie. A woman cannot just be bad manners in peace. It must be something deeper. Okay. Shout out to you guys. I haven't seen anybody say, what did he do? I haven't seen anybody say that yet. There is a buildup of resentment, and that needs to be unpacked. 10 years is a long time. This August makes it 10 years for me here abroad. Yes, it adds up real quick. It should not be ashamed. Nobody is above collecting one or two in life. Right? Good one. I'm just here. Toby and Tribe says, deep down, that woman is very angry with him. They need to figure out the root of that anger. I mean, I don't know if we can narrow it down to anger, but maybe, but if she's angry, it could be that, and it could be many, many other things, But today, I definitely want to group all of this under four things. I call them the no no. John Gottman called them the four horsemen of the apocalypse, and we're going to talk about that. But before we get into the four horsemen of the John Gottman's four horsemen of apocalypse, something like that. Before we get into that, I want to do an analysis line by line. Um, of that thing, Welcome, Black Diamond. Good to see you. Let's see. Okay, so let me go back. So I really need someone to listen to me. My name is Kunle, and I moved to Canada from Nigeria 10 years ago after my wife, Miriam, helped me get a spousal visa. At first, I thought this was the start of a beautiful life together, but now I don't know who I am anymore. I tell people all the time, I say, you've lost yourself inside of that marriage. Man, at least this person said, I don't know who I am. Men usually don't say I've lost myself, but yeah, you lose a sense of your own identity because you're spending such a long time, 10 years, trying to appease, trying to please another person, right? From a place of guilt. It doesn't pan out well, right? And why some people come from a place of guilt because they don't seek the help that they need. They try to use common sense. They try to use okay, maybe if let me just take if they go low, I go high. It's not that simple too, because if you're operating from a place of guilt, you're going to resent yourself and that person eventually. So, and no, we're not looking for balance here. We're just making sure that you have enough in you as an individual before you can be trying to give to other people. When I say enough in you, as in like, take your time to understand that you are giving value to another person. You're not just appeasing them. You're not just trying to, because all that is going to be short-term fix. If all you do is just kissing her ass, it will be short-term. Okay? And she will, the more you do that, the lower she'll be attracted to you, and especially sexually, because that's not the man that she fell in love with, right? Okay, I feel like a shadow of myself. When I first arrived, things seemed okay, but soon after, Miriam started complaining about everything I did. Okay, complaining about everything I did. There's some level of exaggeration there. This story that I've read thus far is less than 1% of everything that's happening. Okay, that's my assumption, which is why I ask more questions. I ask more and more and more questions, right? But we can work with what we have. But when somebody say Miriam complained about everything I did, that's his output. That's his experience. It doesn't make it invalid, but we also know that he's probably just caught up in his feelings, by the weight of every time she complains is a big deal for him, right? So and if you hear that long enough, you will keep expecting it, right? Is it his fault? It's not his fault, right? But that's his experience. So we need to nail that. If I didn't clean up the way she liked, she'd say, you never do anything right. Okay. So she's also exaggerating. You know how he said, everything I did, hey, nothing's ever right. But she, in her commentary, because people say that a lot, you never do anything right, right? Anything, nothing, I never do anything right. Like nothing, like in this life. Right? So now she's exaggerating. If you know she's exaggerating, then maybe calm down. Maybe she's whatever she's saying. Like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean anything right? And then she's like, I'm just saying, right? So they're also speaking from a place of emotions. So what do you do with that as an individual? You recognize that there's a lot of emotions going back and forth. If you recognize that, that's a great start, right? As opposed to interpreting as like, offensive, right? It is offensive. That's a fact. But now you have to rise above that, right? So she's doing it. You now do it back. It doesn't help anything. That becomes tit for tat, back and forth. Now you see the way this story is being framed is like he's the victim, right? Let's keep going. If I tried to help in the kitchen, it was, why can't you just stay out of my way, right? At first, I thought she was just stressed from work or maybe tired, but the comments never stopped, okay? So if the comments never stopped, it's time for you to stop and seek help, right? What do you mean? It can even start, like when I say seek help, you don't really have to go and hire anybody yet, but just stop. You mean, right? And if you have to repeat yourself multiple times, that form of communication is not working. I say that all the time. They became sharper. Her comments became sharper. That means and it'll be razor, like mouth like a little weapon. That's what he's describing here. Let's not pretend that there are no people with mouth like little weapon here. Stop it. Now, even the simplest things I do seem to annoy her. At least he said seem to annoy her. Basically, he's been walking on eggshells. That's what he's saying. He's been walking on eggshells. It got worse when she started mocking me in front of her friends. She would roll her eyes and say things like, Kunle, he doesn't understand how things work in Canada. Right. So that person is not necessarily paying attention to how their words, they don't mean any harm. I believe her that she's joking around. But a lot of people are not paying attention to how their jokey joke can actually hurt other people. All right. Or they will just just because I didn't mean to hurt you, you cannot say it hurt you. That's low levels of emotional intelligence. You can't say that. You can't say just because you didn't mean to hurt them. You can't say just because you had good intention, they're not hurt. That's emphatically wrong. All right. Or she'd make jokes about how I talked or dressed. So accents, people just move from Canada, or they just happen to have a thicker accent. Listen, some people happen to have thicker accent than others. Okay, even if they are born in the same household and they came to America at the same time, right? Now, what is the big deal? Who are we asking what is the big deal to? Right? If you are the one saying what is the big deal and your person keep complaining about it, it is a big deal to them, right? If you are the one saying it's a big deal to me, look at the other person and say they're joking too, right? But who's going to take the higher road? Who's going to say no big deal, right? Who's going to say sometimes I'm too serious, like it's not that deep, right? Who's going to do that? I don't know. I don't know. It just depends. It depends on so many other factors, right? But that something's going to have to give at some point. Give how? Give in exchange for some other type of value, maybe your peace of mind, right? You can't make fun of my accent. It's not possible. I don't know how you're going to do it, right? I don't know how you're going to do it. But some people, it's a pain point for them because it makes them feel less than. It makes them feel like, oh, because, if they say they don't like it, leave it alone. Don't keep pressing it, right? But I'm just saying, there are people with different personalities, different things here. But maybe that's, I said, the way I talked and dressed. Maybe he's not a dress sharper, but you married him that way. So if you like him to dress better, fix him up. But bros, again, he said the way you talk or dress, ask them what they mean, right? And be okay, be content in yourself. Because this idea of looking for other people to make you happy, right? I understand that we're in a romantic relationship and I kind of yield to you in terms of some level of my happiness. I get that. But ultimately, you're responsible for your own happiness. So I'm just saying, So there are other ways you can overcompensate for the way you talk or dress or your accent or any of these kind of things. But I'm just giving you all the possibilities of what people could refer to, so how I talk and dress. But the part here is that he feels a sense of embarrassment because the friends are involved, right? He said in front of her friends, right? Everyone would laugh, right? So nobody wants to be embarrassed or feel embarrassed. And it's your own embarrassed, it's not their own embarrassed, right? But what most people will say is exactly what she said. He said, but it wasn't funny to me. It felt like she was telling me without saying it outright that I'm not good enough. I tried to talk to her about how it hurt me, but she always brushed it off. You're being too sensitive. It's just a joke. So if somebody is saying they feel some type of way about something, right? And your response to them is you're being too sensitive, it's just a joke. You're literally shutting them down to ever bring it up again. It's punishment. You're punishing that person unless they give you basketballs. You're literally shutting them down for life because they already feel embarrassed, but you're doubling down on the embarrassment, right? So they're not like, am I too sensitive? Am I not too sensitive? But it's still there. It's still an issue, right? Anyway, I'm just saying, when I try to defend myself or explain my side, she cuts me off saying, you always want to play the victim. See, doubling down and just this idea like I'm going to lock you inside that victimhood that you are, right? Is she intentionally doing that? Yeah, but not like, it's not relevant. It's like some people just have coconut head, right? Like they don't want to feel like they are not correct. Right? They're not right. Right? They are right. So maybe she also feel less than, like she felt less than that. Like, no, I didn't, just because her intention wasn't that. She's busy fighting the intentions, the good intentions she had, as opposed to paying attention to what it makes the other person feel like. Right? All right. So it's like nothing I say matters. She blames me for everything that goes wrong. If we have multiple, remember I said that's all exaggeration, but that's how emotions work. Emotions make you feel like exaggerating, like it's your full-blown experience, right? So we can't invalidate it. What we need to do when you are encountering somebody who is expressing their emotions, meaning they're exaggerating everything, is to really lean in, and that's how painful that thing is for them. That thing that's taken over their full brain and their full experience with you. And if you're not careful, you said you go collect. Because that could be somebody who is super valuable to you, but maybe you're not paying attention yet. Some people just don't pay attention until they hit rock bottom. Let's keep going. All right, where am I to? Okay, you always want to play the victim. It's like nothing I say matters. She blames me for everything that goes wrong. If we have money problems, it's because I'm not contributing enough, even though I'm working 2 jobs to keep us afloat. If she's in a bad mood, it's because I did something to upset her, right? What did I do to upset her? She's upset. It's because of me. Isn't always my fault. These are where those questions are coming from. I'm always on edge at trying to avoid her anger, but nothing seems to work. Trying to avoid anger is the wrong angle. So what do you mean? Should I make her angry or not make her angry? No, you need to communicate how you feel, right? And then remove yourself. That's the first step. Okay. If you're repeating yourself, that form of, like, you're incentivizing the bad behavior. You're engaged, even though you're saying what you don't want, but you are engaging the bad moves, right? Anyway, she walks away or just stares at her phone. Like, so you talk until that person literally walk away from you. That's usually what that is. Okay. So now you have a man that may be called a nag. Yeah, some men get called the nag. Just in case you're finding out for the first time. Days can go by without us speaking a single word to each other. I've tried to ask her what's wrong to fix things, but she gives me the cold shoulder. So she also dished the silent treatment. She does the stone walling, literally. It's like talking to a wall. See, I can't even remember the last time we had a real conversation. I feel trapped and alone in this marriage. I don't have family here, so he feels lonely too, right? He feels like he's alone, right? So, but it's been 10 years. How come he doesn't have family here? You never see anything yet. And she's always telling me how lucky I am that she brought me to Canada. She makes it sound like I owe her my life. Yeah, if somebody brought you to Canada and they keep talking about, ask them, you want me to go back? You can take me back home, you know. She makes it sound like I owe her my life, and that makes it even harder to say. And you know why you won't ask her or him, you want me to go back? It's because they're paying you too, right? It's because you two, you've over engaged that rhetoric. You brought me to Canada. Okay, you brought me to Canada. Sure. I appreciate that. As my visa expired, okay, let's get back to the conversation that we should be having. Because other things are going on. They just have a tendency to pull that in, right? So how that plays out depends. People to people, why they bring that up. People, again, some people just have the personality of reminding people what they did for them. It's bad, but if you're married to them, you're married to them. Sorry. I'm scared to open up to anyone because I don't want to be seen as ungrateful or weak. He will be seen as ungrateful and weak by many, many people. So if you're going to vent, I think men should vent, men should talk, but they should always do it within the controlled environment. I'm just tired, man. I'm tired of feeling like I'm invisible in my own home. I'm tired of feeling like I'm always on the wrong side of everything. I don't know how much more of this I can take. You know, something will break at some point if somebody doesn't do anything. Let me come back to the chat. All right. All right. What did I miss? All right. Okay, here we go. Jim says it's a long time to be tired. Yeah. Sometimes it is not rubbing it in the face, but when the spouse who've been with from nothing from shit Start talking like you've never done. There you go. Not to. This is the part that a lot of people don't pay attention to. Start talking like you've never done anything for them in life. You are tempted to bring it up. Yes, like I said, I've gone through this myself. Not imported, but other things that I've done that I felt the need to bring up because you keep saying I don't do shit. Right? So what did I learn? What I learned is that I don't bring up what I've done. I had to learn that first. Because that was my side. Again, you pay attention to your own side. I just don't bring up what I've done before. I learned that it's not about what I've done before. If she says I don't do shit, it's about something else. I just relax and wait, and I'm patient with myself until I find out what the real issue is. This is what active listening looks like. It's very difficult, but it's easier when you practice it. It gets easier with time, right? You listen long enough. If somebody is all this bad behavior, is because hurt people. They're hurting somehow, some way. It's not necessarily your fault, right? But you're listening long enough to see exactly what the pain point is. You're looking for an opportunity to add value to them. You cannot add value to them if you don't find out what their pain point is first, right? This is why people end up in Glasgow, because they're not adding value to each other, right? But if you listen, what are you listening to? You're not listening to appease them. You're listening deeper, right? You're not reading minds either, but you're listening because they will tell on themselves if you allow them to talk long enough, right? And then you find out what their main pain point is. It's very difficult because it's like I'm asking you to put your own feelings to the side. This is why people end up in Glasgows, right? But again, with time, when you start enjoying the benefit of doing this, I don't have to teach you anymore. You will know that you're going to be incentivized properly, right? Brilliantly, abundantly for patience. Right? Patience with who? With yourself. If they are talking out of their ass, allow them to go long enough until you find out what their pain point is. And then you add value to that pain point. The pain point is not that they mistakenly brought you from Canada or because you mistakenly brought them from Canada. No, those are the easy things that people point fingers at when they're in pain. Remember, hurt people. They're just looking for ways to hit each other below the belt. Okay. Now, if we don't check this soon enough, it's going to end in divorce. We're going to talk about that in a second, right? So, good point not to. Just to remind me, I know someone that the wife took to UK too, but every time there's a misunderstanding in her words, he would tell her she has not added any value to his life. Yeah, it goes both ways. It's terrible, right? Adebu Salah, welcome. IOP, like I said, he thought her behavior stems from work stress. I think his intuition is correct. But who knows? But what we're not going to do is assume. We're going to find out what the actual pain point is. So if you are the one in this conversation and the other person is giving you basketballs that you don't understand, you listen long enough. It's actually easier from a physical standpoint. It's hard mentally because it's like I'm asking you to be incorrect for a while because you're obsessed with being right like everybody else, right? No, you're not wrong or right. You're just listening, right? To say you can ask questions. If there's awkward silence, ask questions. Repeat what so you're saying this. Like when you say you're saying this, they will tell you that and they will tell you more to it, right? And it can be very difficult. And again, if you're complaining, you can also lead that conversation. Okay. Again, it's easier said than done because you have all your own point of contention that you want to share. And I'm telling you to hold off on it for a second. It's very difficult, but it's doable. Okay. If you do that long enough, human beings have what we call the law of reciprocity. They naturally want to serve you back. All right. Everybody else is going to tell you it's basketball. If they don't want help, don't seek help. If it works for you, keep doing it. Let's see. Don't forget she went to the UK to school from a very comfortable family, fund our trips 20 times to Nigeria to see him. They are both Yoruba, so the wedding was kind of sponsored by her family. Tonya said, this thing called marriage. No be being so. Let's see. You can say that again. Some people will pretend that they do not understand why people opt out of getting married altogether. Hey, if that works for you, do it. Sounds like the woman in this story is actually irritated by the guy's look or personality, but doesn't know how to communicate it to him directly. She's been passive aggressive. Yes, it could be low attraction. I can't tell you how many people I know that went to Nigeria to import a person they're not sexually attracted to. because they were under pressure. It could be, but we'll find out when we find out. It's been 10 years though. So, and often remember when people tell a story like that, they're only telling less than 1% of the actual story. So, you have to actually unpack it. We're just going based on what we see. These highlights in this story are very important. It's what created today's lesson. So, I sense that D says, I sense that she is ashamed of him too. The disdain is rather intense. Perhaps she had expectations of him that did not match reality when they started living together. Have you seen my wife look at me before on these shows? Okay. If you've seen her look at me when we're going through our own crisis, you will say the same exact things. Yes, you will use those same exact words, disdain. Have you ever been angry with the man you're romantically involved with before for an extended period of time, as in like more than 3 days before? That's what it looks like. It looks like, you know, you were never interested in that. Are you sure? Even you go question yourself, was this woman ever interested in me? It's when you start to do inventory, they're like, okay, yeah, there was a point here that, yeah, okay, this one was very authentic. You have to do self-reflection and actually do inventory before you, because you, even you yourself, you feel, you question if this person ever loved you. So I'm not surprised that you guys are thinking that, you know, but yeah, people will get into that space where they completely lost that thing to themselves. That spark was gone. It seems like it will never come back again. But let's see. Is it from a bush or village she brought him from to be saying that he is lucky? Is it given classist? Sounds like you've never been imported or imported a person before. Let's just leave it. Or you've. Let's just leave it. Let's just leave it at that. Anyway, if you have any questions around this, you know how to reach me. My information is scrolling on the screen. But let's go ahead and tackle this 4 horsemen of a thing. Hit the like button, share, subscribe, turn up your notification so you're notified when we go live. Okay, I'll be right back.
Hey Prestige fam, show some love to the video. Hit like, subscribe, and share. Are you in Europe, America, and struggling in your relationship? From argument to abuse and trust issues, we're here to help.
Lola and I founded Prestige Marriage Academy to transform your story. With 20 years of friendship, 17 years of marriage, experience with navigating the ups and downs of marriage, and personalized coaching, includes 24/7 support. Ignorance is expensive. WhatsApp us at +1 732 305 8577 to book a free discovery session today and take charge now.
Don't wing it.
Join us in creating the love life you deserve.